All right, guys. Well, welcome to the third season of Bottom of the Bill. We got our friend. Well, before we even get into that, we got
third season.
Third season.
What were the first two about?
Just a lot of different things, mostly music related.
This sounds like a very one-sided decision. That this is a third season.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it was in
we took a break for a while, then we came back. We took a break for a while, then we came back.
Took a break a lot of the times.
Yeah. We're gonna start this over because this is a dumb part to have in the thing.
We're not starting it over. Okay, so this is the third season?
Yeah, this is the third season.
So that's not gonna be confusing for anybody.
And so you guys might have noticed we made some upgrades. We got new cameras. We got all kinds of different angles, a new setting. We're very excited about. So we're gonna continue to make upgrades as we go. So continue to tune into that. But our first guest of the season is our boy Trey Miller. Trey plays harmonica, banjo. He's a member of, plays both those instruments with Tire Fire. Sorry, getting my words fucked up today.
It's okay. It's what you get when you rhyme your band name.
Yeah. And his most recent endeavor is he is the author of the new book, The Grand Maestros, under the pen name J.T. Miller. So Trey, welcome to the show.
Oh man, thanks for having me. This is so cool.
I'm so happy that you're here, bud.
Yeah, it was a lovely drive. And
where do you live now?
I live in Athens. Well, it's actually, and you won't believe this, but I actually live in a middle of nowhere town called Farmington. They have a town named Farmington, and it is exactly what you would expect. Nothing but farms. There's a post office and a lovely gift shop where the artists congregate. I don't mind it. It's I spent my 20s traveling so much. Most of my friends don't, we're spread all over the country. So there's not any one place I could go where I would be able to keep in touch with everybody I'd like to. So being isolated, I get this quiet place to come home and spend time with Jesse and the dog, and then hit the road again, go see the other family, I'm
sure it helps to have to live in that kind of atmosphere where you can allow, I guess, less intervention for your creative freedom, right? Like you don't have as much noise going on.
Oh, well, I think I like that. And, I'm not going to say I don't derive inspiration from the hustle and bustle of the city, but what it really is it's like the isolation gives me the chance to fall into just huge creative cycles where I can sit for, the weeks on end necessary to write like it's your job,
Right.
I cranked out 2 books in the last it was really over about 2 years, and then over the last year I've been prepping and editing and doing everything to get ready for launching this first one. It's been super cool.
That's amazing, man. So let's talk about the book a little bit.
Yeah. So I've been learning so much going through this. I authored it, and I intended to try to spend some time shopping it around and publish through a major distributor, but I wasn't having luck finding an agent. It's such a tedious process, and I didn't have any clout, Right. But I've had the blessing of being a musical entertainer for the last decade, and I thought, well, maybe I know enough people. Let's try to shoot this shot. And I started a publishing company, and that is Spell Song Universe. So Spell Song Universe has published The Grand Maestros, which is the first book in the inaugural trilogy of the universe, The Spell Song Chronicles.
So wild, man.
It's
keep going, sorry.
It's fun, man. Yeah, no, I'm so with it, man. It's exactly how I feel. It brings out this childish part of me where, it's got so much of what my imagination wants, like musical exchange as communication, as a means of driving culture, as a means of driving synesthesia and just your general run of the mill wizardry and
run of the mill wizardry.
And we get to play with all of these things that I don't know about you, but maybe in the heights of your imagination you've wondered what your music is doing, and I tried to make that metaphor, that philosophy of the music as magic, I tried to give it a home. And it started, I didn't think I was going to write a book. Everybody wants to write a book, right? Like, I didn't think I was going to write one. I just wanted to play D&D. I had moved to Georgia on a hope and a prayer to start Tire Fire, and things weren't going well, and I didn't have very much. I had given up most of my property to go on tour with my band before that move, and I was as destitute as I had ever been, and I didn't have a game console, which is kind of my normal, how do I calm my brain down? You know, how do I trick myself into thinking I'm being productive, because I'm a little bit of a workaholic, right? You have to be to finish huge projects, or patient, you know.
Totally.
So I escape into your imagination. I thought, well, I'm going to stop playing video games. I'm going to focus on making this band exist, and let's write a D&D campaign. I'd always wanted to do that, and it'll be something social. It's kind of like a game. And I started writing it in my iPhone. I don't want the sponsorship. I swear I really did write the whole thing on my iPad. I hope I get to tell that story to Apple. I'm grateful that I was able to use all of those services like Google Docs and that stuff to make this happen.
You wrote the whole thing like with your thumbs?
Well, yeah. Initially, the second book I had bought a computer, but I didn't have anything, man.
Yeah, I feel you.
I had my phone, and I had the notepad in my phone, and I went to town, and we went on this trip to my friend OTG's place, and he's got this cabin that he built in the mountains where, I mean, he's got like a wood burning generator and like as many bees as you need to have as much honey as you want. I mean, he's got one of those inspiring little slices of heaven that if you're lucky, you get invited to sometimes. There's like 1,000 pinball machines in his basement, and like I'm so inspired by what he's chosen to do with what he's earned in this life. And being in that space, I started writing, and I was drawing from everything around me. And this game outline I tried to make just kind of grabbed me and seized hold, and nobody could talk to me for like 72 hours. I was like, from the moment I woke up till I went to bed, I'm like, I think I got to get all this story out. Like, I think it's not stopping. And so now I call that experience the portal opening, because for me, writing this book, it was less creative and so much more journalistic. Like, I go to this place and I'm there, and I have my original outline for 3 books. It was like 3 days of writing, and I ended up with 30 pages of concept of the coming of age cycle, a big conflict cycle, and then an extremely experimental 3rd cycle that's going to be the completion of the trilogy. And I had all of that, and I'm looking at it. This is crazy. And I would see it. It was, whenever I would reference this outline, you know, fast forward a year later to when I actually start writing, I would reference this outline, and I would go there, and it was like the little minuscule things, I would see them happen. You know, it was like, well, what's happening over here? And I would look over there, and I would see it, and then I would just write it down, and it was so easy to describe in that way. It was such a cool process. But it took me about a year to actually start writing. This was April of 2019 that I started.
Wow.
And Tire Fire was slow to begin. We didn't actually launch until August of that year, maybe later. We put our first album out January of the next year, but I was living in a hallway at the time.
What?
And eventually a shed. I put myself in a really rough position to be near the musicians I wanted to play with.
Okay.
Yeah, it is funny, right?
It's like, that's not an upgrade. I guess it is. It's like it's a room, but it's outside.
No, it was rough, man. It was I let myself really go to a place where I had so little because I wanted Tire Fire to exist. I was like, I followed this path of logic in my head where doing whatever it took, from leaving the place where I had my income and leaving my and I guess it's a part of the story that I had a major theft right as this happened. All of my production gear was stolen. So I remember that. I was unable to continue doing production the way that I had in the past. So there were so many factors, but boy, it was this like spiraling thing, and my book became my way out. And I then I set to drawing, and so we got this map here. And I drew that, not that one. That one looks nice. I am like a child with a crayon.
I can't draw it either.
It's not my. It was not my medium of expression. I like when I try to paint that, like I'll end up crying or something. I'll be like, so like I can't get it out, and I get a panicky, and I'm just like, this sucks. Don't look at it.
Yeah.
But I did my little drawings, and then I put the dots on the map and made cities, and that started my world building. And for the next year, I wrote stories about the cities, and I drew pictures of the little animals that lived there, and I would call Steve was like my character generation sounding board. We would talk, and
Steve Honig?
Steve Honig.
Motherfucker.
Shout out.
Hasn't said one word to me about this at all. He's gonna be really excited that you're on this podcast.
He messaged me and was like, "Oh wait, I'm not supposed to be messaging you right now." But yeah, so we made these characters and wrote backstories for the characters, and then as I'm building this world, I had this binder, and I would show it to different musicians that I was playing with, and different ideas would pop up. Different people take interest in different ways, and so I showed my map to the guys from Between Bluffs, a band out of St. Petersburg, Clearwater, the Bay Area, and each of the members of that band in their own way sort of stepped in and added their 2 cents to the world. And Brad, their keyboardist, took the time to take my map drawings and make them into something considerably more professional looking. And so and each of these little things along the way started to snowball, and it snowballed. And then fast forward to the calamity that was like March 13th, 2020. Tire Fire had just launched, and we'll talk more about that later on, but and the band, we were about to go on our second tour. We were selling CDs. We couldn't keep merch in stock, and then, well, we all know what happened.
Yeah.
Well aware.
So we tried, and the band was fighting, and we were like trying to figure out our balance. And some people wanted to work. I was having a hard time. I was feeling betrayed by my music career. I was just like, I had spend a decade building this thing. What for it to disappear overnight? Like, yeah, what? How is this fair? And so I thought, well, man, I need something. I need something that's me. I need something that's I can finish without having to obligate people to jump on this crazy pirate ship with me and risk their lives and their futures, because that's what music was at that point. That's what it was being in a band. It was the riskiest business move any of us could have made. And I remember the point where I messaged our guitar player at the time. He was trying to get me to come record, and I was like, look, I just can't prioritize this right now. I have to prioritize the book. And I took that and I started writing. And it was like, 10 pages a day, 20 pages a day. It just started pouring out. And I would, if I'm being completely honest, like I'd have like copious amounts of hash gummies where like it would help me stay focused. It's like, I think I must have some sort of undiagnosed attention deficit, whichever one, ADD, but I would experience just hyper focus and the ability to create and work for 10 to 12 hours straight writing.
Well, I wouldn't say that you have it only because you'll get like halfway through a project if you have ADD.
Sure.
And then you never touch it again. Right. That's me all day.
Oh man, I don't want to, I don't want to diminish the very real thing that ADD is. I'm
just messing around.
Yeah, man.
Might have just been
I can't believe I finished
the hash gummies, I think.
Well, the real thing that made me want to finish, I have this wonderful life partner, and she told me she wanted to read the book, and there's nothing quite so motivating as the person you love telling you
that'll do it. What a nice little nudge.
So I just was like, well, if she wants to read it, I have to finish it. Damn.
Yeah, without a doubt, man.
Since then, I've got this whole side story that will be released via podcast and Patreon in the future. It's little short stories that are the backstory of our sort of narrator character, the brother of one of the protagonists, Jobin. Harmonica is his name. It's by the way, it's banjo and harmonica.
I figured that when I was reading it.
Yeah. That's what it is for me.
That's cool.
It's like, what the hell is that? I was like, is it Middle Eastern or something? And I was like,
it feels Middle
everything
Eastern, right?
in this book has something to do with music. I'm like, hang on. I was doing like that meme with all the numbers and stuff.
Oh, it's
I
beautiful.
I figured this out.
That's awesome.
Can't put full password on me, man.
So I've got side adventures with that character who doesn't actually appear in the series yet. I've got side adventures that are love letters that I write to Jessie that I'll release eventually. She wants me to release them because it's a cool little side story that will neatly put characters where they're supposed to be in time for the third book. It's been cool, which kind of segues into
what the book's about. You were telling me like an elevator pitch about it. Like, what's the book about?
The elevator pitch. Oh, I love that. I love that line. So what do I say? It's a fantasy adventure where the magic and technology draws from the philosophy of music.
Yeah.
And so the culture, the religion, the interactions, they borrow names from music theory, and they interrelate in ways that hopefully speaks to some of the metaphors that are being expressed with what we're studying music theory. Because the conundrum that I have teaching and studying modality, for example, this all started when I was talking with Dennis Stadelman of Cope about modality, and he told me that in his way of looking at it is that he tries to think of the emotive aspect of the mode and think of the value that it creates in his mind. And so we were speaking of the Phrygian Mode and how it sort of has this almost deserty sort of sound, to at least to our Western ears, totally, placing everything in its context. I by no means have a fully global perspective, but in my world, that's what it sounds like. And so I set out to create a world where all of the places would be built from that. And some of it's just, fun little playful references, like the one of the god machines is a Tower of Power, which, there's going to come a point where hopefully 12-year-olds read this stuff. Hopefully people that are really at that point in their life where they're coming. That's how old I was when I started discovering Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. And it changed me. It really helped me to see.
That's my favorite growing up.
Right.
I remember I dressed up as Ron Weasley for the midnight release of Goblet of Fire.
It must have been fun.
You could still pass as him. You're like if Ron Weasley and Carl Tuckerson had a kid.
Who's that's
what you look
Who's
like.
Carl Tuckerson?
He's a really annoying commentator on Fox News. He always has that disturbed look of confusion, like.
I'm proud that I can't remember.
Oh, I know who you're talking. He's the dude with the bow tie.
Yeah.
I'm him.
Him and Ron Weasley. If they had like a child that wasn't like fully developed, if you know what I mean, that's what you look like.
Anyways, I haven't said one good thing about him yet.
I feel like I gotta get it out.
Nice chemistry. It's really beautiful.
No, it's great. He's just like walking in. He has no idea.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I had to throw it out there. It was eating me alive.
But that's kind of what I got out of it. And granted, I've only read. I'll tell you, I've only read that one track. I love that the chapters are tracks. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And I haven't got very far, anyways.
Sure.
But that's what I was thinking. How it starts out is it's almost like a musical, not musical Harry Potter, because it sounds like it's gonna be like a sing-songy. But literally like they're like I guess it's like the beginning or whatever, so that they're in like a music school, but it's also by playing instruments they like connect with these like god machines, and then it's like magic and everything. It's like a fantasy world. I'm all about it. Fantasy, everything. Love Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter.
Well, I really see it as again, how can you not be impacted by J.K. Rowling and J.R.R. Tolkien exploring fantasy? I mean, and in the more science fantasy aspect, what George Lucas did is these things echo, right, and Dune with Frank Herbert. So these things echo into our inspirations, and so I really like what J.K. Rowling did, because she put us on this adventure where we get to meet people. We met Harry Potter when we were similar in age and we could grow up with him, and that was cool. But then the story ends, and on the flip side, the characters that we meet in Lord of the Rings, while they go on their own arcs, they're already developed. They're masters in their own rights, and they don't necessarily, you get to hear legends. You learn about who they were from flashback. And so what I'm really loving about what I was able to accomplish with this is we get to meet these characters and we get to watch them come together in a coming of age scholastic setting. And then we get to see them in the later books go out and enjoy and experience that world. I use the word enjoy loosely. There's the second book I released the title in a Facebook post. Should I stick with it? The title is The Dorian War, and so that's a little bit of a tilt towards what's going to happen in book 1 as we develop this world.
Dorian War. I like that.
Yeah, it's dope. I love the world. I mean, it's so unique, but then also just like sticks to that like super fantasy type, and I'm about it.
And I'll say for somebody like me, because I never was into fantasy growing up.
No.
But
what's your favorite Star Wars?
There's this other aspect that you've kind of integrated into it that piques my interest. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot there. This works on multiple levels.
I hope so. I want it to be a crossover in both ways. It's like a secret. Hopefully, it's a secret music lesson, and not necessarily a lesson in practical scale theory or like, go out and play this specific thing. But hopefully, it's a lesson in the philosophy of music, and in exploring it, somebody who's into music can find something that they can really resonate with, and somebody who's intimidated by music can maybe see some of what goes on in our brains when we're thinking about what it's like being on stage or sharing sounds with one another.
Right.
And I have a bit more of a fluid mindset. I mean, you guys are infinitely more technically proficient musicians than I am. So maybe I've developed this.
One of us is. Well, I'm not going to tell you which.
I've long since I tell people that playing with Side Hustle as a harmonica player was like climbing a tree with the perfect number of branches. It's such
man, that's such a compliment.
It was a really cool experience. I've never felt so supported.
It was like digging the perfect hole.
Well, because I briefly, I think we talked briefly about that night where you sat in with us. I backed up a harmonica player for like a year on the road. So
of course.
I've got like I know where sonically my space is at when there's a harmonica player up there. The Rock and Jake Band.
It's a great band name.
That's like for especially if harmonicas,
And they're a great show too. They're a lot of fun, I will say.
It's an understudied instrument, and so people don't often know how to complement it, because usually the harmonica player that steps up onto the stage, who's not a part of the show billing originally, there's a bit of a stereotype that guy sucks.
Right.
Really?
Are you not familiar with that? It's a huge stereotype.
I've only played with really good ones. Hey. And Isaac Corbett, good lord, that guy.
He is my hero, man. He's so good.
He's amazing.
He's why I play banjo now. So
I'll say that Rock and Jake is also up there at that level. He's got like this very melodic, and like he's the guy that like learned a lot of jazz heads.
See, that approach is so cool.
And he's got.
Wait, you can play harmonica jazz or jazz?
Theoretically, you could play chromatically on a single harmonica.
What? How?
You would just have to have. There's 12 positions, each in the key, and if you can bend, you get a full spread of 40 notes, just about, and it's like. 40 to 45 depending on your precision. And so I get there's certain bends that have 3 notes in them, like the flat note, the note that's normal, and then you bend it a little to get to the half step, and then there's a whole step.
God, that's gonna be so hard.
It is.
And then like jump around and jazz and like that and everything.
They also make chromatic harmonicas as well.
I was about to say, is it like this big? Like like a Subway sandwich?
Yeah, they're much bigger.
It is. Oh wow.
Chris,
I'm joking.
Chris, it's Howard Levy, right? From Bella Fleck. Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah, fucking amazing, and that dude shreds bebop on a chromatic harp.
I gotta see it. I was joking. Anytime I joke about jazz, it's like, no, that's a fucking thing, and you're an idiot for not knowing.
Yeah, that is true. Though, yeah.
It gets absurd. There's this band called the Harmonic Cats that have a harmonica that's the bass harmonica. That's the size of a.
Name's too easy.
It's the size of a.
Too easy.
But they're from the 40s, so
okay, all right.
So they're and they have a harmonica the size of a child that like. And it's bass stuff. It's super cool.
That's excessive. Awesome. I feel
like I'm not drawn. They dress up like a mariachi band. I want to see it. It's an aesthetic. I just I never got into. I like using the chromatic harps and the double harps for like impersonating Zydeco and stuff like that. But the dilemma that I have as a harmonica player is that I can't get the same bends and overblows on a chromatic harp.
Right.
So I've always stuck with the diatonic style. Your 10 holes.
It's a whole different approach. You also have that little lever on the side. That you have to, if you want to get like your sharps and flats, you have to hit this lever here.
Yeah, because that's what I always thought is that with harmonicas, you just have a harmonica for every key, right?
Right, and so that you should that would be a full set,
and then
but you could theoretically play chromatically on just your regular C harp, like somebody on John Popper's skill level wouldn't need that.
God, but that's ridiculous.
I've learned that Jeff Hoff from Firewater Tent Revival taught me a little bit about playing in third position, or like it was like a. There's just so many different approaches tonically, and it's like again the harmonica was my first musician I got into instrument I got into as an adult. I played piano as a kid, but it didn't stick with me. Harmonica was how I learned key theory, and so studying modality on a harmonica was so strange.
Yeah,
and
you
like
can't get out of that key.
Right. Well, but you have different tonic expressions and stuff though. So it's like you end up learning to play somewhat in every key on this one key instrument, and it was difficult.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Like I'm playing in like A Dorian. What harmonica would you use?
So for that, you would need the
fourth up, right? Was it D or C? A C.
So if it was A Dorian, no, you would just need a 1 up, right? So it would be B harmonica, right?
B harmonica, okay. I typically
it would be 1 back. I'm sorry, a G harmonica, because the second position of the scale would then be A, right?
Right.
So yeah, you would use the G harmonica and then play the G major scale.
That's right. Yeah.
Starting on.
I have a question for you. Do you typically
modality?
I was thinking like E minor, but it's like they don't have E minor
They
harmonica.
do.
I thought it was just like it's just like
I don't like them. They do have minor harmonicas, but they're cheating.
They're all the same. It's whatever.
No,
relative.
They read them differently.
Yeah. And it's all. So if someone's playing in G, do you use a G harp? Because as I understand it, you would use the 4th up. So if the band's in G, the harmonica player would be using a C harp.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, that's typical. Total situational. So Bob, this is something that comes up in my life all the time because everybody's like, oh, Bob Dylan harmonica, and Bob was like famous for this really scratchy straight harp style where if you were in the key of G, Bob would play a G harp. And you get a nice major scale. It's all laid out there in the center of the harp, and you get some wonky notes that sound really harsh. And that has characterized a lot of American folk harmonica playing.
Right.
Then the blues harmonica is typically played in the 2nd position, which is that one that you're talking about where you're playing to the 4th.
Okay.
And then as we go on from there, there's 3rd, 4th, so on and so forth, and I'm not as schooled in those as a career harmonica player should be. But eventually, I stopped thinking about the position and just start thinking about the interval relationship and tonal relationships.
Right.
Know? So, but that that's once you've learned what works and what doesn't, you know.
That's interesting. So like the go-to is to play a Mixolydian tonality every time that you do it.
Right, because you get that real dominant, like...
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and so I get some blues. That makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. And anybody else who's watching, maybe not have any clue, but
we're getting a little nerdy.
Well, going in from fantasy sci-fi into music theory. So, it's always a great fucking idea.
I actually do want to get back to the book.
That's what my book's about.
Yeah, of course, literally. All right, so yeah, we're on fucking. I can't even talk right now.
We're on point.
Yeah, we're on point. That's what I meant to say.
I want to go back to the book real quick because before we get into the music, we have a new segment that we're gonna get to in a minute. But I want to ask you about some of the learning curves in the process of, obviously writing the book, but then there's the next step, right? There's bringing it to market.
Yeah,
man. What's that experience been like?
And having like a physical copy and everything.
That's cool, right?
It be a PDF one.
Yeah, which by the way, right there, guys.
How cool is that? And what a blessing!
You Dumbo, you know that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm so used to having one camera to work with.
God, pretend like you've been here before.
This is the book, ladies and gentlemen. It's fucking dope.
Let me tell you about that cover.
Great review, dude.
Yeah, I haven't read that much, but I know it's really. But the writing is amazing.
Yeah, maybe you should give it to him so he can hold it.
So, this cover was painted on a 5-foot tall canvas by Jesse, and it's actually representative of a vision that I had. That was the moment in my life where I lost my imposter syndrome as a musician and as an entertainer, and it was a very significant culminating moment, and I was in the throes of a psychedelic experience, and I don't typically see things during that. That's not what my MO is on that. But this time I let myself go, and I didn't have an instrument to play. And you'll see I've got my finger picks on. I keep them on. I had them on then too, man, because that's what I do to keep myself. If I get a little anxious, I can keep myself grounded by playing a little banjo wherever I am. And I was at a concert, and I grabbed a hold of the rail and started playing along with the band with this thing. And I closed my eyes. And I know this is tangential to what you asked, but we'll get to the learning curve.
Oh, yeah,
and I closed my eyes, and I just kind of let my imagination go free, and the colors did the thing that they do when you're in that mind state, and all of a sudden they whooshed together into this double helix of two dragons, and the dragons came together, and they met at their heads, and at this point their heads combined when they formed this like Mayan goddess. And she looked down at me, and I looked up at her, and I was feeling so grateful. I was like, man, what am I doing here? I'd been given a free ticket to this really great concert by one of my best friends and a musical hero, and I was starting this new band, and I was like, I've been told by close associates that I'm a faker, that I'm not really. You know, that sort of thing people say, and so
that's a shitty thing to say.
It's not a true thing, you know. It's a projection, but I took it in and made it a part of who I am. And I looked up at this Mayan goddess lady, and I'm like, am I faking it? Am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to be a professional musician and have a fun life and play music for people and do this sort of thing like this band is doing for me right now? And this goddess thing looked down at me, and she just started cackle laughing. And I was like, I'm a pretty religious dude, and I knew that, like, I've talked with God before in my own way, you know, maybe I'm personifying my own experience of myself. I'm willing to accept all that. But that thing that I was talking to was that God that I knew. And her laughing at me like that, I was just like, oh man, it's only up to me, isn't it? I'm the only one who can decide if I'm worthy.
Yeah, totally.
And so when I met Jessie, I told her about that, and she decided to paint it. And once I saw it, I was like, well, this would make a beautiful cover. And so it's got this image of this girl playing the mandolin, and I think it's her. But in the book, this if anybody's wondering, this is Laura Lynn Milestone.
You'll hold it up a little bit more for the.
I can hold it up a little more, yeah. The little character on there is Laura Lynn Milestone. Now that name is. This is really cool for me because when I made her, I didn't know that she would look like Jessie. But I have two moms. one I was born with, and one that I was lucky enough to find along the way. She found me, one of the two. But and my mom's name was Laurelyn, and she has since passed away. And my other mom's name is Caroline, and we grew up in a neighborhood called Milestone. And so I named the powerful woman character in the book, one of the powerful lady leads. I hope that I captured multiple, because that was a goal that I had. I named her after my mother's, and then Jessie, and she plays mandolin. And she's a luthier, because the other powerful woman in my life that I look up to is Ari Bozeman, who is my mandolin player, the mandolin player in Tire Fire, and she's a luthier. So I combined all the cool girls I know, and then Jessie accidentally made it look like her in this beautiful unintentional channeling of the cover of the book. And the dragons end up appearing in the book and stuff too. So it's all that all comes together. And so the first real learning curve that I hit was in the process of actually putting the book together and taking that 6-foot canvas and making it into something that could be turned into an 8.5 by 5.5 drawing, and finding everything, getting everything together. I had to sequester the aid of Amanda Farish and Jill Michelson, who are Amanda's a great photographer. Jill plays in a band called Captain Midnight. And together we were able to take Jessie's art and turn it into this beautiful thing. And then I took the image that I was given by Jill of the book completed. It was like just this whole cover spread, and I posted it online and told people, you guys can pre-order this if you want, thinking, let's have a little bit of support for printing. I've been saving money. I've been buying Bitcoins, and you know, like
it's all the smart kids are doing.
I'm positive about the Bitcoins, but they tanked right when I was about to cash them out and buy my books. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I could not have anticipated the lesson that I was about to learn, which was how many wonderful supporters I had in this community. We sold in about 3 days 125 books.
Man, that's awesome.
And so my second learning curve was this whole patience thing, where I had to get this thing to market. Yeah. And I had to get it to market fast, because every person everybody was getting it. And so I learned a second harsh lesson, which was that the program that I used to create the book, the Google Docs, which was wonderful, making my stuff accessible to me everywhere. When you transfer files from Google Docs to Word and back and forth and stuff, there's some, I'll call them little ghost bits that get in there, extra breaks and line breaks and things like that. Right. And so we couldn't just take my text and put it into an Illustrator file. And so there was this whole panic where I couldn't get the inside complete, and I couldn't find anybody who could figure out how to get it complete. Oh, and so I had to, and I'm like reaching out to all the graphic designers I know are show poster people. You know, they're not bookmakers. Like, I don't know any bookmakers. So I'm like trying to hire my usual people who do great work, and it's just a conundrum, one thing after another. And eventually I got with Jill, who did an excellent job with, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. She did great. You know, we teamed up and finished it up, but I ended up having to go through and format everything in Google Docs myself, and then use a workaround to trick the computer program, because it was such a large file. Google wouldn't let you download it as a PDF. I know, right? It's just like
words.
Oh man, it was 50,000 of them. Or
I know,
something
but still,
like that. But it was crazy that I couldn't get it to download, and so I finally found a workaround where you trick it into thinking it's printing, and then you can save it as a PDF, and then I had to bounce that back and forth, and I learned this, this extremely niche skill of using Google Docs to turn a PDF into a printable document for a proper printing company, and it came out, and so then I was able to I was just gonna kind of guerrilla release it, right? Like I'm a pirate. I'll just sell people books. I'm not gonna worry about. But we had so many supporters that I was able to get this ISBN number. I was able to do everything right and get my publishing barcode, and so now I can sell in stores. And Spellsong Universe is a listed publishing company. So I became a publishing entity by necessity through the process of it, and I bought these barcodes are infinitely cheaper in bulk. It's like $200 for one or $300 for 10.
And Christ, it's like wait, like barcodes for like EPs or CDs are like nothing.
Right. It's written media has this whole thing, you know, and it's that's something that I'm experiencing. Would you mind placing that back on the thing? Absolutely. That's something that I'm experiencing left and right is the astounding amount that. Maybe it's wrong to call it gatekeeping, but gatekeeping barriers placed to keep people out of the industry. I mean, what a preventative factor! Such an expensive thing to have on there, but it was much more reasonable for me to buy more. So hopefully, I'll be able to publish other people's books under the umbrella of the Spellsong universe. Right. But at the very least, I've now got this publishing entity with enough barcodes purchased that I'll be able to do the digital. You need a different one for print, digital, and audio. Right. And so since I have 3 books, I'll need 9 total. So I have those now, and I'm a little baby publishing company. And so that was my next learning curve. And then I worked with another member of Between Bluffs, Jared, their singer Jared, to copyright it. And so I registered everything with the proper channels.
The big guys. Yeah.
The big guys. So now if anybody tries to steal it, they owe me a lot of money just by the nature of the thing. It's
cool. Now, have you copywritten music before? Is it a similar experience copywriting music?
It's a little more expensive to copyright music. But really? Copyright's this interesting thing, and I'm not a lawyer. But what I learned about it was, you automatically have copyright of your material. In America, you have it, and that's yours. But if you register it, you have this automatic ability to collect punitive damages, which means that if people use your stuff without permission, they owe you money regardless of whether they made money off of it. Which if you don't register it with the copyright agencies, you're not guaranteed that sort of stuff. Right. And I have my music. Shoot, man, if somebody wants to play my songs, I hope they play them. This stuff I wanted to copyright because I intend to build video games, merchandise. Hopefully there will be tabletop gaming aspects.
It covers all of it just because of the...
Well,
what you copyrighted under?
I copywrote the books, the first book, Spellsong, the Grand Maestros.
I guess the entity. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars is a movie, but it's also everything.
Right.
It has to do with
That's a trademark.
So that's a trademark, right? Yeah. That's a great question.
Yeah.
And trademarks are infinitely more expensive.
Yep.
So I need the trademark stuff. Like we got the Tire Fire trademark, and that was a blessing because our first guitar player was able to help with that. We wouldn't have been able to get it going without that. But I can't afford to do that immediately, and so
I can put you in touch with an attorney, bro. We can make something happen.
Oh man, like I said, I've got this awesome attorney buddy. It's just it's like $400, and so as a self-published entity, every single little piece is going into making my universe happen. I'm reinvesting into. As soon as I sold enough books to print, I took the profit and bought those maps, and so I'm going to be doing the same thing as we snowball forward and getting more little fun things for people, Have you worked with a marketing or PR firm at all to help with just educating the consumer? Man, I look forward to it. Right now, it's a one-man operation, kind of intentionally so. And that's not fair to Amanda and Jill who did great stuff to help get going. So it's not a one man operation in that respect. But I'm trying to do as much as I can on my own so that I can learn about it. So that when it comes time to hire those other people, I can speak from a place of experience.
Yes, we talked about that earlier. Wearing the hats, I mean, that's like the importance of understanding the different roles. So that way, when it comes time to delegating, you know how to effectively communicate those things.
Yeah, totally. I like the process of shipping 125 books all at once. I was harrowing, man. I mean, my hand is kind of, Jesse helped me put the Spell Song universe address on the envelopes and stuff like that. But I think by putting all that love and intention into each individual one, I learned something about the process to this extent where I'm going to be able to relate to each member of the team. And that my goal has always been to like, since I was a wee little lad, to make a business that me and all my friends could work at and make a decent living. And, that was one of the things that had originally attracted me to musicianship, was the sort of comrade in arms aspect where we're all in business together doing something beautiful. And so if I could do that with the book, feels like it's this whole other tangible thing, in the light of the chaos of what music and a music career became over the last several years. I'm so grateful to have chosen to become an author, because it's just it's not subtractive. It's only additive to all of the music.
Totally.
And it's got some sort of tangibility that I hope comes back for me with music. But I certainly have. I don't know. I was, before the pandemic, I was obsessively pursuing exclusively music as my one creative outlet. And I'm almost grateful to have been forced to find something else. It's pretty cool.
We've all had to pivot in one way or another, hence the podcast here.
Right.
Which for me has been just awesome. Like figuring out this new realm and like video editing stuff and, how do you get content out on the internet and what looks good, what doesn't, just putting your head in a different spot. Really, artists are like, whether you're a musician or whatever kind of artist you are, it's just putting your creativity into the test in other kind of situations,
and jumping into it. Because we had no fucking idea. We were just like, all right, we need a microphone and a camera.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like there's a lot to it now.
I admire that you pulled it off. Well, again, with like the whole writing a book thing, there's nothing to writing a book. You just have to write a book.
Yeah.
Right. Man, but what a cool lesson it is to learn that you can do that. You can pivot. You can find some new way to let all this energy out.
You just can't let the other shit defeat you. You know what I mean? You have to shift that perspective and realize that, hey, this is not a problem. This is a new opportunity.
That's easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely.
I know we all know that, but I agree with it 100%.
I'm really excited to read the rest of it because you sent it to us. Was it Monday?
Oh, just a couple days ago.
Well, Sunday, yeah.
I wish I would have sent it earlier, but
don't worry about it. I've just been busy. I'm like, I'm gonna read this while I'm at work, and so I was doing overtime, and I was like, I want to get physical. I'm a physical copy kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. I would. Yeah, I'll definitely buy. I'm definitely gonna buy a copy for sure.
It's $94. And that's the friend price.
So I want to kind of move on to the next segment here. We got Bottom of the Billboard, which is a new segment that we've just added. So basically what's going to start happening at the bottom of the Billboard is that if you've watched the show at all, that Billy and I have a dynamic where we both pretty much hate each other's style of music.
No, I just like good music. And then you like, I wish there were words. I wish there were words. I wish there were words for it, but they escape me.
So
Dumpster Fire Trash. It's like a compilation of like guitar solos and Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it just goes to show how much you misunderstand me, and we don't actually know each other that well.
I feel like I've always understood you.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Okay,
you're about as shallow as a puddle.
So that's my joke that I use on you. Number one,
never heard it.
It's season 3, so he said
season
it first.
3.
So is that the new that's establishing the thing now? Yeah. So it's a new season, so it's your joke now. I got it. These fucking rivers run deep, bro. I'm just saying.
A river?
Yeah, no, more like the Mariana Trench.
You're fucking damned up, dude.
Okay, bro. Anyways, so what the segment? Fuck. What was it? I was in the middle of a thing. You like ruined my whole train of thought. Basically, I recommend a song each week, or Billy recommends a song the next week, however it works. And then we review that song, and then we put it onto a playlist, or we decide whether or not it makes the playlist that we're going to have under the bottom of the bill umbrella on Spotify. So you can. So
here's the thing. Also, on top of it is, it's a song that I really like. That I want to be. I want it to be on the playlist on the bottom of the Billboard. Mm-hmm. But so and then I send it to him to listen to, and then we don't talk about it until right now. So I have no idea what you think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Just want to add that little spice to it.
So what was the name of the song again?
The name of the song is the name of the artist is Rex Orange County.
Yes,
Rex
Orange County.
And the name of the song is Television / I can't remember the end of it. What is it? Did you write it down?
I didn't write it down. It's on my phone.
Yeah.
Actually,
is this number?
Chris, you look at Rex Orange County.
Orange County. Yeah.
Television and something else.
It's / something else, like something like good or something or better. Yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
So here's what I'll say about the song: is that I actually enjoyed the song.
It's a good song, right?
Good song. It's got kind of like an indie rock pop kind of thing going
like
on.
Almost like kind of like Mac Miller a little bit. I'm sorry. Have you heard of this artist?
I don't know this artist.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
I think you'd like him a lot.
Yeah.
T-Rex.
It's like T-Rex, but it's just Rex.
No, T-Rex is like the fucking dope ass like funk band from like
no. It's
Elton
just
John and
see my friend Ari says to do the T-Rex thing, and she does like some funky thing like the band T-Rex. I didn't know that band existed. I thought she was just saying to like.
I mean, there's a style I would imagine
that's the
like
fucking super bass.
Yeah, if she's referencing the fucking thing, then that's one thing. But there is a band called T-Rex.
No, she was referencing the band. That's how I learned about the band T-Rex. Gotcha. That's not the band you're talking about.
No, and it's not really a band. It's just a guy, and like he hires
a producer.
Yeah, exactly.
And the song was good.
He's young as fuck, and it just makes me want to kill myself.
The song was good.
It's so pissed me off.
Can I review the song?
I'm
not
done yet. So I think he's like 20 or so, or 21.
Okay, great.
He's very young.
So but he's a talented producer. Talented. I like the some of the effects are being used, like some of the synthy stuff. I like the arrangement. I like how it goes into this next song. It's a completely different vibe. Mm-hmm. I think the lyrics are cheesy as fuck. I think his voice sounds like a watered down Backstreet Boy person, or like something like that.
But that's because he's 19 when he wrote it.
Yeah.
What stripe do you have at 19? First off, and then secondly, like keep going.
Yeah, can I finish my review, please?
Yes, you can, but you ruined it.
So I ruined it. So
we'll get it. We'll do it at the end.
There's a couple things I could do without. I'm not like a fan of the distortion on the bass that kind of happens like halfway or like during the chorus. I think that you don't. I've never been a fan of that effect as a whole.
How are you listening to it? It's a good question.
Well, on headphones and in my car, the two.
Oh no! Well, you gotta listen on an iPhone.
Okay.
That's the only way to listen to any music nowadays, and everybody knows that.
And if that gives you any
no, you don't understand. It's EQ'd for the iPhone.
If that gives you any kind of or any kind of idea of the reason why Billy likes what he likes,
this is an Android
it's because he listens to it on an iPhone speaker.
Yo, like you are gonna be pandering to no one because that's what everybody listens to it on.
That's gross.
And I'm joking. I don't fucking listen to that shit because that fucking sounds awful.
It's a gross way to listen to music, and it's disrespectful to the artist that created the music. Anyways,
it's disrespectful.
It is.
You fucking listen to. Would you imagine like you walk into a fucking bar and it's like, yeah, I really like your fucking album. It's doing really good. And it's like I'm listening to it right now. It's like fucking listening to it on this iPhone speaker.
Can I just say that like when like it's a worse form of listening to music. It degrades the whole thing, especially the artist had like an intention with the production of the whole thing, right? And you lose all of that in listening to it on a phone. So that's my whole thing with it. Anyways, overall, I think it's a cool tune. I dig it. I listened to it to like a radio, like Spotify radio based on it afterwards.
Yeah, you did?
Yeah, I dig the music. I say it makes the playlist.
Yeah.
So first song on the bottom of the Billboard.
Did you ever find out what the full title of it is, boys?
Television / so
So far good.
So
Television
far good.
/ so far good.
Yeah. So
can you see how many plays it's got on Spotify? It's not like super up there, but it's definitely not on the radio. But I think it's got over 150 million or something like that.
That's a lot of plays.
No, it is. It is.
Solid.
He's very famous.
Yeah.
Not famous, but successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, you like it?
Yeah, I like it. I'm into it.
He's got a couple more albums. A lot of it are like singles and stuff.
You've
like
showed
that.
me stuff from him in the past.
But I think you'd really like him too.
Yeah,
Trey.
if you like indie pop music that sounds like
but it's like
indie,
but it's more indie pop. It's more like I don't want to say jazzy by any means.
Definitely not that.
But when you think of like indie pop or like indie, like it's very like bar chords and just like there's nothing special about what's going on. But with his stuff, it's like it's got key changes, like
that's cool.
a lot of different things.
You gotta listen to the music being made by the 19 and 20-year-olds, man. Even if you don't like it, you gotta listen to it.
Oh, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's this like new wave of like new pop music that's coming out, especially for the younger generation, where they're like getting far away from that kind of style and they're getting more into the that kind of jazzy, like more, I don't know what to say, but it's not just cut and dry like
that's cool, man.
Nirvana or whatever. But I also agree with you with that his lyrics, without a doubt, half of them don't even fucking rhyme, which is fine. But then it's just like, what? Like,
yeah.
Well, you're rhiming sometimes. There you go. He's doing time.
I put Nicolas Cage in a cage.
But
Trey's ADD is kicking in.
Yeah, no kidding. But I was gonna say, I totally agree with you. I'm just like, what are you talking about? And then I like looked him up. I'm like, oh, he's 19.
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
I was writing better lyrics than that when I was 19 years old, but it's fine.
Debatable.
I'm telling Mariana Trench, bro.
Wow, I would love to read your poems about skateboarding. What were you doing at 19?
A lot of drugs.
Were you a skateboarder?
When I was in like my preteen years.
Yeah, I was a
skateboarder.
skateboarder too.
But 100% is what you're saying. Officially on the very first song on bottom of the Billboard is Rex Orange County Television. Yeah. So far good.
Yes, we were successful
so
with that.
So far
with
good. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Oh, we're gonna get copyrighted right now.
No,
anyways.
But yeah. So.
And here's what I wanted to say from the very beginning. You fucked it up.
Why?
Because it's gonna be way funnier if I have my review of this song and then I get to hear what you're gonna say.
I fucked it up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
What you're gonna say, because the likelihood is just like garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Okay. Next time we'll do it. It's our first run of the segment, guys. Yeah. We'll get it right next time.
There's gonna be bumps in the road, but I think it's really great. If you like this segment, let us know. We're gonna keep doing it anyways because we are our own fucking man.
Yeah.
We don't fucking listen to anything. But at the same time, I would say I'm very, very surprised that first one it's on there.
Yeah, well,
maybe you're like, well, we gotta get something on.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You're a little bit lenient.
Not at all. No, I am very picky about the shit that I like, and
so you actually do like it. I showed you something that you like.
I told you, bro. You think that I have like this like narrow scope of what I listen to? Like Billy thinks that I wake up every day and put on just Charlie Parker. Yeah. He doesn't know who that is specifically, but he thinks that I just listen to bebop all day.
You don't?
I don't. I mean, I don't listen to bebop hardly ever.
Nobody would ever guess what I listen to. I don't think.
What do you listen to?
You gotta guess.
Abraxas, the full album front and back every day before you take a shower.
I'm gonna go with.
I have one artist in particular that's on my constant rotation.
You did say you were excited about that emo festival that's happening in Las Vegas, and that your favorite band that was on there was Sum 41. So you
Sum 41 is not on there. That's why I'm not excited.
So you're like an Under Oath kind of guy?
No, I was like so disappointed that my skateboarding youth band wasn't on the skateboarding youth band lineup. That's so sad. But I think Sum 41 probably doesn't exist anymore. I didn't keep up with them after. You know what I liked about them? They're like they evolved with my musical taste. They were all pop punky, then they were a little bit heavier and more aggressive, and then they got like indie folk weird. It was nice for a coming of age Trey. You know, it really hit me, and then I got into the music that I like the most, which is hip hop. MF Doom is my favorite artist.
That's what I've been listening to nonstop lately. Man, I swear to God,
I love MF
like
Doom.
2 weeks.
Billy just discovered hip hop a couple weeks ago.
I swear to God, because I just never really gave it a shot, and then I started listening to it, and that's literally all I listened to now for the past like almost month.
It's so surprising
MF
to
Doom
me
is
that
amazing.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. But it's incredibly surprising to me that I've found my voice as an entertainer via the band banjo and string band music and things like that, because what really, really excites me is the lyrical interplay of hip hop. It's just so cool, and it's a little hokey to do it. One thing I heard at a show one time was like, why do white boys always want to play rap songs on the banjo? And I that's me, you know. I truly love it, but it's the instrument that I can play proficiently, and it's the music I love, and so I do a lot of. I decided to become a professional musician in the midst of watching The Roots at Swanee at Bear Creek. I had this real, just sort of the same sort of epiphany moment of like, this is it, man. That is the climax of human achievement, and I want to participate in that particular art form.
I got a good story about that show, actually.
Tell me.
So I was I played that show with Lucky Costello, or I'm sorry, that festival with Bear Creek at like 12 o'clock on a Saturday. Literally the bottomest of any bill. Yeah. But at the same time, I was so stoked to go see The Roots. Really, just Questlove. Like I knew The Roots too, but I was like, I get to see like a super famous person.
Right.
And it was good.
And so I had backstage passes because I played there, right? And so I kept on going to the back of the amphitheater, and they had these like black curtain that you could see through, and obviously there's an opening for the band to go in. And I was just like, was waiting for everybody, and I just snuck in to the right behind the set, and like literally I'm standing as close as I am to you behind Questlove while he's playing. I'm just like, fuck. That's yeah. Amazing. By the way, so I was hammered, and the stage manager was like, whoa, bro, you can't come back here. I was like, oh yeah, and I left, and then I just waited for like literally no more than 2 minutes, and I just went right back in there to do it again. And then he kicked me out, and he's like, I know you got a band and everything, man, but if you come back here again, we're kicking you out. I'm like, all right.
Questlove is probably the
it's just so cool just being next
ultimate, like just like I guess student of music. I think.
Yeah, man, so and he's smart, such a patron of the arts. Like he is. I love his contribution, and the fact that. Yeah, I know it's kind of tangential, and it's not really, I don't know, call it what it is, but I'm so glad they've got this awesome steady gig on the Late Show now. Like they deserve that, man. I mean, they impacted music for generations and generations and generations, and now they get to chill and make a paycheck and make people happy. I look up to their success so much, man. They're legends.
I tell Chelsea all the time, my girlfriend, that's like my dream gig.
Yeah,
be like a guitar player on The Voice, or like, you know, whatever, like in a late night band or something. Probably in the wrong town to do that, but at the same time, it's like just one of those things. You get to a certain point where you get tired of like the road stuff and the grind, and you're just like, man, it'd be cool to be able to do this and with like real players and
yeah, man. Well, and as I said before, it does need not be subtractive. It can be additive. You know, if you've made your albums and you've done your thing, and now you'd like to add something else to the lexicon of your life, man, I think that's awesome. And I'm like, you know, it's something that's. And in my punk rock youth days, I'd slap me for saying that sort of stuff. But I didn't know any better back then. And now I know what it's like to struggle and to desire a home and the opportunity to have a family that I could support. You know, all of that. Man, I think stability is a beautiful thing. And I don't, and the Roots are getting to play music for people, you know, like all over the world in this one little way, you know, It's also exposing people to who they are, and people are discovering those albums that they've got this legacy of, you know? Exactly. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man, totally. So let's talk about just kind of your journey from the beginning, man. Like,
sure. Sure. I'm getting a little warm. I'm going to take my wizard hat off. My hair look too crazy?
No, it looks perfect, bro.
Good. I'm going to make it look crazy then.
Hold on. Make it look crazy.
Did you get that at Hot Topic?
We got that at the thrift store.
Is it from Hot
It had a
Topic?
spider on it whenever we bought it, but we took the spider off. So...
Where are you born? You're from Pensacola.
Yeah, I'm from Pensacola. I guess that's where you start the story, right? Like, where do I start? So, like... I want to keep it to the interesting synopsis, right? But I was born to entrepreneurial parents, and so my whole upbringing was inundated in that. You know, like start your own business, live, find your freedom in that way. But on the flip side, remember I have two mothers, and my my biological mom was not financially successful in any stretch of the imagination. She was not. And she taught me that money wasn't everything. And so I had this one side of my family was wealth and productivity and financial success, and the other side of his family is spirituality and sort of love, and there was love on both sides. I've been blessed to have a loving family, and so I combined these influences as I'm getting older and started to develop my opinions on the world, and it sort of came of age, going to Christian schools and not having very much experience with the outside world until, my big getting outside of my bubble experience was because of World of Warcraft, which is the ultimate addictive. I don't recommend that path for anybody, but it was my path. And I went from being this goofy little Christian schoolboy to learning how to team manage and do project orientation, things like that with groups of humans. And I begged my parents, please, please, please let me go to public school. Let me get out of this thing. And I did. And I took all that knowledge and experience, and I was like, man, when I was in one of those like indoctrinate your ass Christian schools, like they'd have like, call them sword drills, where you'd like take a Bible and hold it like this, and then you'd have to like, they'd be like, say a reference, and you'd have to like find it really quick, and then recite, we never had
to do that, but I went to super Christian school too.
Yeah, man. Pensacola Christian Academy is where I went, and it's like from if they're to be believed, I know they fed me a lot of propaganda, but apparently they're the flagship for fundamentalist Christian academies across the nation. They would sell their book program to schools all across the way, and they were what they were, man. I don't want to salt them, but the end result of their program is a lot of disturbed human beings.
Did they teach you that the Earth is 5,000 years old too?
Yeah.
Me too.
I got a 100A on a paper I wrote in English class that was titled "Evolution. Don't Make Me Laugh."
That's hilarious.
It was my start. I was me. I was a sarcastic little fucker. But so one of my favorite lines in the beginning of the book, you've read it if you've read the first chapter, is there's a street preacher, and he's like yelling at people and trying to get money, and these thieves are looking at him, and the Steve dude is like, like he's no different than me. And then the girl that's with him, Willie's like, well, at least you're not a liar, like that guy's like, and it's not that I have any problem with. As I've told you guys, I'm super religious, but I hate the authoritarian, controlling, financially driven church that we see today, and so I end up being very critical of that in my book. But I came from that place, this really authoritarian Christian school, and I got out and went into public school at a magnet program. So it was still really intelligent kids I was around. It was a great atmosphere. I loved it, and I started smoking weed. I found it while I was playing World of Warcraft, and it actually helped me quit. And like young boys do, I started discovering girls, and I was like, oh, I need to get in shape, man. I gotta start figuring this thing out, man. These girls, woo! Yeah. And so I left World of Warcraft behind and started going to the school where I connected with this whole next chapter of my world that would be me and my friends starting a little. Well, it all started with our after-school place we would hang out, Gull Point, and we had our Gull Point crew, and this was in MySpace days, where if you had a crew, you'd put your little letters behind your name, and man, we were it, like we were the cool kids in our world, our world, not anybody else's. Right. And, I started having these fucking aggressive people over to my parents' house. My parents are pretty cool, but my mom didn't want me smoking pot. My dad actually got me into smoking pot, and that's a whole nother conversation. But he gave someone some pot to give to me to see if I would try it, because I was like, weed is bad, and I knew my dad smoked, and I was just like, no. And but I smoked it when this kid offered it to me, and I loved it. if I'm being honest, I haven't stopped smoking since. It's my medicine, man. I'm such a fan, and so I went on from that, and I started having these people over, and I never sold weed then. I refused to because I thought it would make me lazy. I was always trying to start little businesses here and there. I started a biodiesel company. Nothing ever came to fruition, but we tried, we were doing things. And eventually me and my mom, we stopped seeing eye to eye. And I think a lot of it had to do with my pops. He was a real fucker. He was trying to turn us against one another. It's a strange damn thing what people do when they got millions of dollars and they want to fuck their lives up, right? And that's, again, it's a whole story for another time. But me and my mom had this falling out, and so at about 15, I was trying to finish my science fair project, and I wasn't staying at home. My dad was out of town, and I had to break into my own house to finish the science fair project because my mom had locked me out. Now, I didn't understand at the time that I was bringing goons and gangsters to our family home. I didn't think about my little sister, These were my friends, and they were nice guys. There wasn't anything the matter with them. And, so anyway, boy, we had a conflict over that, me and my mom did, and it took us some time to reconcile our relationship after that, and we have, she's probably my closest living family member, and I'm so grateful for her. But at the time, we weren't nice to each other, and my dad had to come home from work in another state, and he decided that maybe it was time for me to move out. And so at 15, I moved into this warehouse.
What?
That had a loft apartment that my dad owned. He wasn't using the warehouse at the time, and except for storage. We were in the pool enclosure business, and this warehouse had a big backyard, and it was about 3 miles from my school. So, sure, let's do it. And that was my junior year of high school, and of course, I'm the guy with the house 3 miles from school where you can do drugs and drink and party. We had a good time, and it grew into this crew, and we stopped being this GPK thing and became Pensacola's Most Baked. And now our Facebook, MySpace had PMB behind it, and we all started wearing green bandanas, and it wasn't all goofy kid stuff, but it was what it was. We started having these weekly meetings where we would preach. And I had this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I would use it like a Bible. And we would have sermons and learn and go together, make our business plans. And then after the little learning session from whatever book we were learning from, we would go out back and have a little fight club. And we would bare knuckle box in this giant sand pit behind the warehouse. And so that happened on Wednesdays. And so it started coinciding with this, me going to church. I had this church that I really loved. It was Holy Trinity is what they called it at the time. It was an Anglican church. I never thought I'd like an Anglican church. They do all the liturgy and wear the robes and stuff. I thought that was all pomp and it is all pomp and circumstance, but I ended up having fun with it. It was kind of fun to treat it like something sacred, and they weren't being assholes. They were just wearing cool robes and lighting candles. It was fun.
Because you're not Catholic, right?
I'm not Catholic.
Exactly. But that's what was always intrigued me too. It's like, I want to fucking do all that fucking
right,
shit.
Well, and that's what Anglican is like. Well, we're Protestants. We don't actually think that the Pope is holy, or there is a Pope. That's not a real thing. But we can still wear robes and all chant together if you're into that. Let's do it. And they were really sweet about it, and they would feed us, all of our friends. I didn't live at home. That was a really good home cooked meal once a week, and so it had this weird synergy with our fight club crew where we would all go to church and then have fight club and then do gangster stuff and then we eventually started selling weed and then it grew to where there was like 50 people with these bandanas, and I have all these journals with pyramid hierarchies of stuff we were doing. It was
so your gang. Were you on the top of it?
Yeah.
Damn, dude. You fucking gang leader.
I swear to God, a cool quote that
fucking
some lady,
gang
when it all
over
split
here.
up, this one of my friends came up to me, we used inappropriate languages back then, and this girl was just like, I just miss being one of the bitches, Trey. When are we gonna do that again? What a foreign version of life, you know. But to us at that time, that meant I want to be one of the, you know, I want to be a loving family again, and that was the language that we used to describe it, and it was in its way beautiful, and it was so toxic, and it culminated eventually. You know something that's true about me is I've never done cocaine. I actually kind of abhor cocaine, and I keep it away from my life as much as I can, partially because of what happened during these days when those boys started getting into it. You know, my mom had a problem with it growing up. You know, if your parents end up having a problem with something, you grow to dislike it, whatever it is. For me, it was that particular substance, and so I've had to really learn to navigate a world that includes this thing that makes me uncomfortable, and I have. But at the time, I didn't allow it in the house, and you know, we were 16, 17, and 18, and these guys were discovering it. And I had 6 or 7 people living with me at that time, big goons, you know, like we were playing the part. And I started making rules that they couldn't do it around the house. I started calling them out because I would be at school and they would be at the warehouse doing God fucking knows what. And I started to... And around the same time, I started discovering friends that played music. And, you know, we had always been into hip-hop. We were rappers and stuff. Like, we would do the thing, but I never played. And then my friend DJ would bring his guitar around. And my friend Andrew Kelly would bring his guitar around. And I just found this kinder, gentler side of this world that I had grown to love. And I began to set boundaries. And as I set those boundaries, they were violated aggressively. And, boy, my mom was right. Those guys that were just my friends that I kept bringing around the house ended up coming back in while I was gone and smashing the place up, stealing my money, stealing my supplies, and that was kind of the end of my drug smuggling career, you know? I learned that was not the way that I needed to be living, and that I was wasting my time and energy, and I tried to start another crew because that's where we were, you know? That's what it was, and we were all about Rastafarianism because of my love for the story of Jesus and my love for cannabis. And, you know, I learned as I studied Rastafarianism that it's kind of inappropriate for me as a white dude to claim Rastafarianism because a major function of the religion is the sanctity of the 13th tribe of Judah, is the Ethiopian. I may be getting the geographic stuff wrong, but you're supposed to be black if you're Rastafarian, or you're dark skinned. You're supposed to be from Africa, as the Judaism is like a bloodline thing. There's an appropriate sort of understanding of culture in Rastafarianism. Gotcha. Where so I just eventually was just like, well, I shouldn't say I'm a Rasta, so and I may be wrong in my understanding of that. Different people can interpret the religion different ways, but that's what I gathered from my studies of the life of Haile Selassie and the teachings that came from those ideas. So then I just became a Christian who liked the sacrament of cannabis, and then eventually the second crew split up too, because, you know, it wasn't really supposed to be, and I fell more into the church because those people were still being nice to me. They weren't breaking into my house and smashing shit up. And there was guys that had been a part of the fight crew who knew me, who were cool, and they were a little psychedelic, and they weren't as gangster aggressive. They kind of liked that my gangster friends were gone, and we started building this new world. And then I went to Peru with this church. I was playing a lot of poker at the time, and I used all my poker winnings to pay for this mission trip to Peru. And when I was in Peru, I had one of those conversion experiences they tell you about, where you just feel the spirit flowing through you, like that good energy of love, and you know something that you didn't know before, you know, not like a you know 2 + 2 = 3 thing, but just like a knowledge of the self, like a new relationship with whatever it is that makes us go what and why, and I love you. And I left Peru with that, and I decided to quit smoking weed. And I tried to pursue the life of a priest, and I studied for a year under what they call diactal examination.
You went to seminary?
It's pre-seminary. Oh. I was going to be made a deacon.
Oh, I see.
And while I'm in the process of this deaconship thing, I met a woman, and we we had relations and smoked weed, which was a big deal at the time because I'm trying to be Christian, and a fundamental misunderstanding of Christianity is this idea that you're not supposed to ever have sex unless you're married, which I think is a misunderstanding.
Oh no, it's in there a lot.
No, it's not. We could talk about that.
What do you call it? The sexual immorality.
Yeah, they talk a lot about that, and that's, I think, an important distinction. I think that's without love. I think that
is true.
That's kind of what I think. That's just personal opinion. I think that's what they were talking about. But I agree. There is a lot of problematic homophobia, especially in the King James version of the Bible. Like, it's totally bastardized social control tool. But anyway, so I'm like, these guys are examining me, and as a process of being examined, I'm like examining myself. They're asking all these questions, and I'm like, well, why do I want to be a priest? What am I? And I get to realize, like, I'm just charismatic. I've been a gang leader at this point. I've run teams on World of Warcraft. I've helped with the church youth group. What is it that I'm really trying to do? And I'm trying to be in front of people. And I didn't think I wanted to be a musician, but I remembered tickling the piano at church and going and figuring it out, playing in rhythm and changing. And I didn't know what a 1-4-5 was at the time, but I did, C, F, and G, and it sounded like music. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't touch it again, but I ended up leaving the church, and I went off to college at UCF. And that's where I played my first show. I played bongos with Mario Corey and his band, She the Slut.
What a name.
Oh, it was such a conundrum. I started out as his manager. I'm a business dude. That's how I approach things. I'm like, if I like something, I'm like, let's figure out how to make money off this.
Yeah, totally.
That's why I like Magic the Gathering so much. I'm like, I can delude myself into believing I'm investing in something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to manage Mario, and he's just like, I just need a bongo player, man. And I had bongos, and I had rings, and I would hit them. And I remember this guy came up to me after the show, and he's like, he had his beehive of dreads. He's like, his swollen hands. He's a hand. You are the most timid drummer I've ever heard in my life. And I was just so ashamed. I didn't know that I would. I was just trying, I didn't know to be intense. I was trying not to get in the way, because that's what you hear all the time is somebody didn't know what they were doing and they sounded bad. So I figured less is good, and I wasn't wrong, Mario made really cool acoustic music. It didn't really need drums at that time, Now what he's doing is great. It does have drums, but at the time it wasn't what was needed. And so I stopped doing that. And then one day he's like, you know what? I really just want somebody to play harmonica and rap. And I'm like, I can do that. That's I could probably do that. I'll figure out how to play harmonica. And he gave me his dad's old fucking patchouli tasting ass harmonicas. I don't know why, but every harmonica that's been in a drawer for 20 years tastes like incense, even if there's not incense in the fucking drawer. But I learned how to play on those. I did. I spent all summer. He went back to Jersey, and I got to where I was confident. And then I went hitchhiking, and I left, and I used my harmonicas to take me across the country, and with the help of some friends along the way, but mostly hitching rides with our thumb. Me and my friend Nina, we went from Orlando by way of Swanee and Pensacola to New Orleans, and then back to Jacksonville through Brunswick and the Hostel in the Forest to New York, and then back. We picked up Mario along the way, and we're coming back, and I'm I've gotten pretty good at the harmonica. It turns out I have an aptitude for this instrument, and I'm playing, and I'm truly flowing, and then I was rapping, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I don't think I want to do that anymore. And so I have this whole new skill and this passion for music and excitement. I didn't know what to do with it, and me and Oboasi had been playing together, and we...
what was the name of that band?
We're All Gonna Die.
Yeah, exactly. That's when we met. Yeah.
So me and Obi were both like,
the show was almost 10 years ago.
We quote How High quite often with that I Need Money character. It's like that's me, and then me and Obi met. And he's like, well, shit, me too. I don't know if you've seen How High, but that's me and Obi. So we were like, let's fucking make some money, and so we go into business together, and we start What's It Records, and we also started We're All Gonna Die. And it started out as our little acoustic duo, and it grew and grew and grew, and we added members, and you know what you do in your first band. We had a trombone at one point. We had a cello. You know, we had a guitar player who played a 12-string with only 8 strings on it. Like,
we were figuring shit out.
We were figuring it out, and we played Creedence Clearwater and our little songs that we wrote, and it was beautiful. I
remember that show that we played with you. Ago, and we stayed at Obi's house.
Mm-hmm. I lived there too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that was my house.
Sorry.
Yeah,
oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That was 10 years ago, man. I ended up. So that ended up being this fuel where we still wanted to put Mario on a pedestal. It was like we had this little crew of this underground Orlando punk rock jam band folk punk scene that we wanted to make a festival for. So we did. We had been throwing in my backyard since I moved to college, Little Econ Winter Music Festival, and I was just a minor role in the beginning. I came to Orlando with the remnants of my party throwing gangster crew, and we staffed this first party. And my experience in Orlando started with a Little Econ rave, and I threw these raves for a few years, and so we're going back in time a little, and then we catch up, and then me and Obi decide to work together to throw our own Little Econ with the blessing of Frank Hagedis, the guy who invented it. DJ went by Frankosaurus Fresh, and we made it our goal to do something. We didn't know Home Team existed then. We didn't know this Jacksonville market existed. We just kind of set out to do something special. And while we're planning What's It Entertainment, I met Josh Childers, who threw a festival called Bamboo Jambu. And being my I don't know shit about fuck self, I'm like, let's go staff his entire festival. I think we can do it. So I wrote up a little plan and offered to do it and succeeded. And over the course of the weekend, he had his own journey to go through, and he ended up leaving property with, I guess, me in charge. And I didn't tell anybody that happened. I just kind of took charge. Started paying people, started doing everything that needed to be done. And that's where I met Spore. Which is why I know you guys.
Was that the Little Econ Love Fest? That's the name of it? Right?
Little Econ came after. So this is Bamboo Jambu.
Okay,
and then we took all of that. No, it's okay. I met Spore at Bamboo Jambu, and via this adventure, we gathered this energy up and decided, well, let's throw our own event, Little Econ Love Fest. And the Little Econolockahachie River was behind our house, and that's where we all congregated, and we had thrown our own versions of that party in our backyard. We threw this big music festival version. It was one of the greatest successes of my life. Not necessarily financially, but it gave me an opportunity to throw shows for you guys. It helped me to get into the position where I was working with Rose and the Red Lion Pub, and then eventually in a position where I could hire all of our different bands to come through town and go through these things. It was the stepping stone for my whole entire music career. And when it started, I was just the promoter. I played a little harmonica and with Obi and stuff like that, and I had started playing keyboards. I didn't even play banjo yet. And Spore kept berating me about playing with them, and I was so intimidated. Like, me and Joe had become instant best friends, and he was like, why don't you come play with us? And I agreed. And then I like walked up to the stage and started playing, like, what the? I can't play harmonica with that. And I'm just, this wall of Jamtronica sound is coming at me. I'd never heard a jam band before. All I had heard was my little punk rock buddies and a folk punk guitar player guy. And here I am blown away. And then they introduced me to you guys. And I'm just like, what is this polished excellence? So I'm hearing all of this like tranced out psychedelic rock and roll. And so I built a pedal board for my harmonicas. And that's kind of the birth of Harmonica Man. And I remember Brian Edward, I asked him to take my picture at the first Little Econ and did. And that sort of started my brand, you know. I became the harmonica guy via playing with Spore and things like that. And it wasn't long after that I found the banjo. And I started playing catch-up. And I had this huge imposter syndrome. Like, I'm a faker. I gotta fucking earn this. I gotta get my skill level to the point where I can hang with these guys. Because, I
started late.
I was a really late bloomer, but I put in the work. And
how old were you?
24,
okay.
and I'm 30 now. So I've been playing banjo for 6 years, 7 years now maybe. And it built, and I played banjo at the next little econ, and I started picking up gigs, and We're All Gonna Die sort of pittered off as, your first band kind of does. And we went our different ways creatively, and I started to discover my sound, and they wanted to do more intense rock stuff, and I was scared of that at the time. Distortion freaked me out. I was like, I just want to make soft, I want to make sweet noises. And then now I'm like, I've got like 3 distortion pedals on my banjo. I'm just like,
but those are sweet noises.
Yeah, man, I know, and that's what I had to learn that, and I came to it via my journey. I started Harmonica Man in the Sawgrass Band with Mark Bernstein and wrote most of the songs I still play today with Mark. And we had a cool little run of it, and that was what it was. And that was my band where I started getting paid, and I was taking $200 gigs for a full band and thinking I was the king of the castle. I was like,
not bad,
we're getting money.
I get money.
I didn't know that I was supposed to ask for a living wage at the time, and that I was participating in the dulling down of our industry. I thought that I was doing a good thing.
That's 200 double cheeseburgers.
Hey man, you're not wrong, but truly, man, I mean, we need to catch up with the times, man. $100 a man has been standard since 1980.
Complete bullshit.
Your fucking dad said that, didn't he?
Yeah, no, I mean it's not.
I think he was a bassist like back in the 80s.
I think it's true. So anyway.
Changed.
But yeah, so it went from that, and then that band sort of fell apart. I had a really rough breakup with a partner who our lives were really tied together, and it brought the band to a close basically. And around that time is when I started playing with Free Range Strange, Sonny and Timber's band, and I'm too much of a front man to be a good supporting member of an act, is what I learned trying to be in Timber's band. I think about it all the time. One time Timber tried to dance with me at a music festival, and I'm not a very good dancer, and he's like, "You don't know how to follow or lead, do you?" And I was like, We're talking about dancing, right? So I didn't last as long as I would have liked with them. They're still some of my best friends in the world, but I had my own music. I needed to make my own way. And through touring with them, I met Riley O'Brien. And we were and Adrian Alexander. Riley and I had this psychic chemistry, and Adrian was like all down to keep up with us, but we didn't, Adrian and Riley and I didn't have the same musical goals. And so it eventually blew up Fandango, the band that Adrian actually named, that grew from our friendship.
I love that band, by the way.
Thanks,
that
man.
Was no offense or anything, but I really did love that band.
You got to see Tire Fire. I don't know if you've seen Tire Fire.
I haven't.
So I think that what we do with Tire Fire is a real culmination of the sound that I was blessed to work on with Riley, especially now that we have Dave Garrelot on the drums. But I do believe that what Riley and I achieve together is this. He called it like the heartbeat of the world. Like, it's just whatever groove can fit into this. We figured it out and played it together, and
That's when you were playing at the Snake Church.
Yeah, man, we felt confident, and
you didn't get to play that in Orlando. That's all I thought Orlando was, because I never played anywhere else. And we played at that church. That it was a bar, but on Sundays it was a church. It was so fucking weird.
Interesting dynamic.
But then it was on like Tuesdays.
You guys played there, right? You played at the St. Matt's Tavern?
Played there, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, same spot.
Snake Church is what I call it.
Oh, I thought that was the actual place. I was like,
no, it was called St. Matt's Tavern.
Because it was also Reptile Night.
Well,
it's the weirdest fucking place I've ever been to.
I don't remember the reptile.
We had this cool variety show sort of experience that was Twisted Tuesday that started at the Red Lion Pub with literal sword-swallowing sideshow acts and a lot of fire spinners and stuff. And over the years, it attracted a lot of different people. And our friend Bob would bring... He was a snake breeder, and he would bring like 20 snakes.
God damn, man.
And people would wear them. They were our friends. They were nice snakes.
And he would also bring mice, too.
Oh, so you
feed them
the snakes.
It was
a great time.
Yeah,
there was definitely like
on a Tuesday, can't fucking beat it.
No, it was a really cool party, man. It was a
good place.
So Blue Bop ended up. I took on this big, crazy thing where I was just like, let's go to Colorado and tour for 2 months. And Adrian and Riley and I put together a tour, and we, being a no-name band, somehow got gigs and played all over, but we had this falling out with Adrian along the way. Just didn't see eye to eye, and he was like a street kid guy, so we let him do his street kid thing, for better or for worse, and he stayed in Colorado. And Riley and I ended up having to make a living playing music in the streets of Boulder. And that was, for me, that's where I found my voice. It's where I found my style. We couldn't amplify, and he's on a little drum kit, and so I had to play loud, and I had to sing at the top of my lungs for 4 to 6 hours a day. And we were making loot, man. I mean, $200-$300 a sit, and having a fun time. We'd go to the Indian buffet. We'd spend our nights in the mountains. Sometimes we'd have to sleep in the car on the side of the road. It was a whole thing,
Boulder's really pretty too. I like that.
Boulder's a nice town. I want to live in Nederland. It's a little city outside of Boulder that
with a D, right?
Yeah, Nederland. Yeah. They have Frozen Dead Guy Days there as a music festival. They throw centered around the one of the world's leading cryogenic experts is frozen in that city.
Wow.
And his estate ran out of money to keep him alive, so they throw a festival every year to keep his body frozen.
I was about to say to keep him on, like,
I don't know if he's alive. I'm sure he's probably
no, he's very dead.
Yeah, he's very dead
and very cold.
yeah.
But anyway, that brought us to me and Riley were flying high and very proud of our sound and ready to gig, and we decided I lost my housing in Orlando due to gentrification. They doubled the price of our rent and remodeled the joint that we were living in. I couldn't keep a place. All my OB and all my buddies that I had gone to college with had moved off or were touring, doing production, and so everyone that I wanted to play music with was in Georgia. And my friend Critter and I had talked about putting together a band called Tire Fire and making stinky, nasty, fast bluegrass like only we could play it. And so we decided to do it. We moved up there, and and boy, it was like, it's just that it didn't work out the way that we thought it would. It took months before we figured everything out, and Critter and I made on good terms, and Riley and I's relationship really struggled as a result of everything we went through, and so he ended up leaving Georgia, and so Blue Bop just didn't exist anymore after that, more or less. It still exists in our hearts, and Riley and I have said that we would play together, but I don't have the energy to put into it because I'm so passionate about what we started doing with Tire Fire, and what really got me was the harmonies, man. I mean, as we started taking my songs and these brilliant musicians were adding layers and layers to it that I couldn't conceive of on my own, it changed my approach to music. It what used to be fun for me all of a sudden became frustrating, and I had new goals and new expectations, and so it molded me and changed me as a musician into this new tool for I can sing harmony parts now, and I can play perfect time while adding new parts. I won't say nobody's perfect, but you know what I mean. I started growing into my own abilities alongside these people, and Tire Fire grew, and we started attracting these players like Ari Bozeman and Sean Hartley and Danny J and most recently Dave Garrelot. We've had the pleasure of playing with Dennis Stadel and things like that, and it's like it became this almost super group of everyone I'd ever looked up to playing along on these songs that I wrote. And it was just such a dream. I mean, literal dream come true. I would tell that story at shows and we'd all cry. I'd cry. My friends are crying. We're all so happy because it's like, wow, this is it. We did it, you know? And the dream is living. And then, you know, I guess that kind of brings us current to where we started the story, which is all of that happened. We made our album, we released it, and then the pandemic. And so we sat on that album for about a year, kind of unable to gig. We would do things here and there, but it wouldn't end well for us. It would either nobody would come or one of the band members would catch COVID or like, so it was what it is. And Tire Fire sort of sat for a little while, but we still tried to keep it up, you know, and we've been sharpening our sword. And so over that time, you know, Critters left the band, and we replaced him with a guitar player named Jack Boynton, who chose to move on from the band. And so, as I'm sure you guys are aware, you know, I myself had to make decisions like, how am I going to make money? You know, do I have enough time to make a product that's quality enough for me to put it out? Like, these are questions we started asking ourselves, and what is the future of our band? And so we've been morphing in it and growing, but it hasn't been all doom and gloom. You know, what I'm seeing happen is this new energy or this new version of our music career where we're taking a look at what's sustainable, what has continuity value. And so we're putting more energy into recording. We're putting more energy into producing video content, where things like that are going to help us get out there in a larger sense have kind of become where my musical journey is at. It's like I'm having gone through these steps to get to where I am, you know, each step along the way, I feel like I've made compromises in order to fit the mold of what was expected of me at the time, you know? And I think that if nothing else, having gone through this whole journey and coming out of the other side of what was the major conundrum of the pandemic, learning to deal with this as a society, and we have our jobs back now, and now I'm just fueled with all this energy. It's like almost like mania. Like I'm like, since the year started, I've like made music videos. I've learned how to animate. I'm releasing books. We're just like, it's just like, let's get it. Go. And so I have a lot of excitement for the future of Tire Fire in that respect, because, you know, I'm until we play a show, I'm not going to say who our new guitar player is. We have somebody playing guitar with us who's passionate about the music and wants to be in the band. And we've got a drummer now, and the sound is just, it's everything that I've ever wanted to be able to do. Things that I didn't even know I wanted. And now
They're all out of Athens?
No. What a conundrum that is
I was
for
about
Tire
to say,
Fire.
like,
no, half the band's in the Bay Area, half the band is in Atlanta, and then I'm in Athens. And so it's been a nightmare to try to keep all that together and to keep that energy going. But we all have so much love and faith in one another, you know, and hope. Like,
well, it's not impossible either, right? I mean, like bigger bands do, like Wolfpack, they all live in different places, and
flights from Atlanta to Tampa are like $50 round trip.
Yeah, so it's definitely
round
doable.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
If everybody wants to be on board and you can get, you know, you can produce the vision and sell everybody on that vision, they're down for the ride, then, you know.
The Tire Fire is made up of the most badass human beings I've ever met on this journey of life.
Well, how do you rehearse with them?
So
do they all go to Tampa, or do they go to Atlanta?
Yes, we do seasonal retreats, and we do sessions. So our original goal, what we did as we were building the band, was like a month and a half on, 2 weeks off sort of idea, and we were doing like a week-long session, 2-week-long tour, and then so it's like 3 weeks on, 1 week off, and then we would do these week-long sessions either in Tampa or at that place where I started writing my book, the OTG place. We would go there and just sequester ourselves, and you know, it became obsessive. I mean, we like my friends know I would like go to town in Tampa, and I wouldn't hang out with anybody. We're just demoing, writing, arranging, all of that. It honestly was a little too much. I had to take a step back in order to. I'm just now getting back to where I feel like I'm in love with my music again, but it was a little too much. And then, well, maybe my feelings would be different if the world hadn't shut down. But we kept that rehearsal cycle up and started working on different recording stuff over the pandemic. Unfortunately, due to band member switches and stuff, we're not releasing that stuff at this time. Maybe eventually as a sort of nostalgia piece. But the next album we release, we want to be the actual members of the band currently performing. You know.
Totally, man. Totally. That's an incredible dynamic you guys are able to keep making work, though. You know, and
it would not happen without the literal, and I cannot stress this enough, the most badass humans on the face of the planet. I mean, like
you gotta be committed to go 300 miles to rehearsal.
Sean changed his whole life, man. I mean, I think that guy's my hero. I mean, in addition to being you know, like I try not to say my I have so many best friends, but I love that man. He's my brother, and like you know, we both went through a lot moving to Atlanta, and he moved to Atlanta literally January of 2020, and so he moved his whole life there to start the band, and then the pandemic happened, and going through that with him and rebuilding our world has been harrowing, man. I'm so proud to call those folks comrades, and they're so amazingly talented, each of them, man. Ari's got this band called the Ain't Sisters. They have a bunch of music out that's just so good. I mean, it's been a real cool blessing.
I applaud your ability to pivot in the pandemic situation, man, and like continue to be creative and, you know, writing the book and keeping the band going to some extent or another, and like just being able to just
even being like spread out that far and like that in itself, like during a pandemic, like
it would have been so much easier to just throw in the towel.
Totally, man. It always is, right?
Right, I mean, but we couldn't. It's like man, I couldn't do that. There's just that part wasn't ever in the cards, you know.
That there's that combination of like the creative artist side and then like this entrepreneur side that's always thinking about the next thing and like how do we, you know, adapt to the new situation. I think that's something that you have, and it's inspiring, you know.
Well, thanks, man. I feel the same way. I mean, that's part of why I was so excited to come down here, because I see what you guys do with the podcast, and it's like that's what we got to do. You know, we're each leaders in our own little worlds, even if it's just for ourselves, you know, and so we have to set our best examples for ourselves. And then hopefully that translates to whatever team you're a part of, you know.
Totally.
And if you can echo that out into the world beyond that, then like success is guaranteed. Not financial success, but in my opinion, that echo is the success, you know. Like, so.
Hell yeah.
You know.
Awesome. Well, this is probably a good time to move on to unpopular opinions.
Absolutely, but like, what a fucking crazy backstory!
Bro, seriously.
I had no idea.
It's fun to tell, man. I look forward to writing the autobiography.
I can see you as a fucking at the pulpit without a fucking doubt.
It will probably still happen, but it won't. You know,
I don't think you said once.
How I feel about this book, it's like you know, being an author was always my life's dream since being a boy. I've kept journals and things like that, but it wasn't like this. I mean, I expected to be able to share it with my mother. I expected to be I didn't think that it would be based on music or music theory. I all of these things. And so it's like everything I knew would happen is happening, just not the way that I expected. And I think the same will happen with the whole pulpit thing, you know.
Maybe like retire into it.
Yeah, like as a universalist.
I'll go to church with you.
I'm no longer Christian. Well, no, that's not true.
Start your own church. That's the good money right there.
Right,
start your own one.
You broke. Start a religion. So I have ethical qualms with that. I probably wouldn't take money for it. I like what Paul really fucked up Christianity, but his idea of being a tent maker so that he didn't have to take money from people to preach, I get a lot out of that. I think that's a really cool model. Like if you want to talk about religious ideas and stuff as your life, that's beautiful, and I hope that you do something else to make money. Like, I don't think we should be mixing money and religion, personally.
That's one of my favorite.
I'm all the religions now. I love them all.
One of the churches that I used to play for.
There's some truth to all of it, right?
one of the churches I used to play for was a Cuban church, and it was Episcopal too, and he was a doctor, a family physician, full time, and then didn't take a salary to be a.
To me,
and I was just like, so much respect.
That's
admirable.
Are you
kidding me?
I mean, not that there aren't pastors that do a lot of legitimate work and that deserve to make a living doing what they do. I know that the church lives in this crossover place for a lot of different people, where it's a community center and things beyond that, and that it's just a little too complex for me to participate in currently and feel ethically sound.
And he would do the same sermon twice, once in English and once in Spanish.
I
know, right?
See, like that's a lot of work. I get.
And
I
then
get
go straight back to the
that.
fucking hospital on Monday.
Right.
He's the coolest dude ever.
Right, and I get that, and that is a lot of work. It's a beautiful thing. It just creates such a conundrum when you're collecting money for that, because you have this incentive to be catchy and fun and interesting and keep people entertained. And while I do believe that being entertaining and fun is a key part of learning, it's just so dangerous when you're like exchanging money for people's eternal souls. Like, oh God,
it becomes it's the same conundrum that I think that we face in any kind of career, because it gets really easy to lose focus on what the end result is, right? And what the goal is of the whole thing. And somebody, I was asked a question, I was on a podcast on Friday called Together We Print with our friends, Chris Richard from Spore and Alan King. They work with, they own Grind Time, which is like a printing company and all that stuff. So check them out. They do all of our merchandise. But they asked me the question, what the hardest part about like running a podcast and running a band and all the other shit that I've got going on, like what's the hardest part about the whole thing? And I didn't answer it correctly on the show, but I thought about it afterwards, and the hardest part is to, I think, not lose focus of what the goal is, because you get so caught up when you're wearing all these hats in the different details. Well, there's a marketing, there's a PR, there's what's the brand we're trying to push here, like what do you want the vision to look like, and then you forget it's like you still have to create, and you still have to, even though that's creative too, but that's not like that's just the building that stands on the foundation, and the foundation is the art that you create.
That goes back kind of to something that you were talking about earlier, which was just the idea of, man, I just want to be an artist.
That's all I want to do. Fucking AIDS. It's expensive, and then also you have to have a house or something.
Well, and I don't know. It's I don't know that marketing is inherently a part of the artistic personality. In some ways, it's almost like, I think a lot of artists find it to be almost dissonant with the experience of creation, and I don't. Thankfully, I'm not wired that way, but
I feel you on that.
No, right? Yeah, that's all he preaches all the time too. Is just like it's a part of being creative, and I totally get that. It's a creative thing. It's definitely not sitting in front of a piano.
That's why you need that team, though, man. You need both. Like, you gotta have both. It's like
we got a team now.
That's so cool.
Fucking Chris Underdal and Gene O'Neil, shout out to running video and sound. These guys are crushing it, by the way.
Gene yesterday, dude.
Yeah.
He's crushing it, though.
Awesome, though. I love
and Chris, too. Sorry. Sorry.
We also forgot to get the streaming numbers on that song, by the way. We never
Which
got
one?
It
was
145 million.
145 million.
That's a lot.
Chump change.
Yeah. They're making a living off that one song, I'm just saying.
All I'm trying to say is how many people are in America?
Like only twice that, I think.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, ultimately, there's what we talked about off air. It's a shift in perspective. Like if you find the creative angle, it can be a fun endeavor. It might not be what you're passionate about, but you can still make it interesting for yourself. Right.
Organization's super key too. Like I'll find I have moments where I'm especially inspired to one side of the process, or I'm especially inspired to another side of the process, and so like. Keeping files organized, keeping all of the materials that I need like on hand, ready to go. Like I have a like, let's say in the middle of this interview, an inspiration struck. My banjo's right here, because of modern technology. If I need to do emailing, things like that, I'm able to jump right into that world. And if I've got it all set up correctly, it becomes a much easier tool to use. It can quickly become overwhelming. Like I was talking about with the shipping, I was just like, oh my God, what? Yeah. This is too much. I don't want to do this anymore.
Totally, man. Totally. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. I totally feel that mindset.
I'm just going to say, I don't like it.
Yeah. That's why.
Straight up.
That's why I
don't like
do it, and you don't have to do it.
No,
right?
that's good.
I do have to do it still.
That's good.
With everything. Or if I want to like continue being something else and
if you want to build your own brand outside of the projects that you're currently in, then you
Yeah.
have to work on your own brand for sure. But yeah. All right, so unpopular opinions.
Oh,
let's
yeah.
do it. You can go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if I've said this before, right? But it's a new season, and I like what you're doing with the seasons. It's kind of like starting, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
There's also
and then we're gonna have the prequels later.
I have a marketing thing that we can talk about, but there's a reason why you pick. There's a reason why you have seasons.
Why isn't this?
Because we've taken breaks
1?
before. You want to get in this conversation again, or do you want to have an unpopular opinion segment?
Wow, I feel I'm here to have a good time. It's my house, and I feel very attacked right now.
What are you talking about, bro? We're in a podcast studio. I don't know if you know that.
This is a Riverside rat den.
Not anymore. You got fumigated.
I did. I got fumigated, and so no more rats, no more termites.
I hate rats.
We'll see
I used to like rats. When you have a lot of rats in your house, it is an uncomfortable feeling.
It was funny at first, I will say, but then after like the first like couple months, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, this is a real problem.
Well, there's a scene from Parks and Recreation where Chris Pratt, Andy Dwyer, he goes, "There's so many rats out here. It's like a goddamn rat parade every night." That's what I was calling it, man. It was ridiculous. Anyways, they're gone for now. I don't know. I haven't seen one in a long time. But
so you don't like the seasons?
Huh? The seasons?
Why don't you like the season concept? Seasons of
I thought that's
that isn't even my unpopular opinion, but you brought it up. What my unpopular?
You brought it up again.
You did bring it up.
Yeah, that was your.
But you said it was a new season.
I did say at the beginning of the episode. Yeah, you talked about it yesterday. You might not remember what we did.
What's your unpopular opinion?
My unpopular opinion is that and it's very unpopular, and I probably am just stupid. But the whole what I was going to say that I might have said this before, and then that's why you brought up new season. Anyways, I'm not trying to say he's right, but like write it down. Anyways. It was that nobody really freestyles when they rap.
That's an incorrect statement.
That's tough.
But then you can
it's
go
not an opinion, right?
Huh? No, what I'm trying to say is there's no such. Well, okay, I'll say it in an opinion. There's no such thing as freestyle rap.
So what about freestyle music though? Like, can you freestyle?
That's called improv, and that's what I'm trying to say. You still can't. That's different because it's a learned.
I want to
skill. And that's not called.
I like to.
It's
practice.
not called freestyle.
Why is it called freestyle?
It's called improv. Right?
So improv is what you would call. Because see, what I do when I'm freestyle, what I call freestyle rapping, like I'll practice combining phonemes, like different parts of words that fit together, whether it's absurd or meaningful. You practice that, and then you're able to, in a stream of consciousness sort of fashion, combine these associated phonemes, just like a scale or something like that. How is that? Is that word improv? Would that be a better?
Billy doesn't learn licks in the piano. He just goes right. So he doesn't get the concept of like pulling from a bag of established vocabulary. Right, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he doesn't get the concept of freestyle rapping. The idea is when you're improving, whether you're jamming in a band or whether you're freestyling in a hip hop situation, the idea is that yes, you have a vocabulary that you're pulling from.
Exactly,
correct?
but that's the same as a musician.
Yes, it's the same thing.
But why is it called? But the connotation with freestyling is that it's just off the top of the head. That's what it's like.
Then also
ever since I saw 8 Mile, he's just coming up with that. I'm like, oh my god.
Then understand
but everybody speaks a language unless you're a fucking wolf baby.
But then,
and so the whole fucking improvisational thing goes out the window because you call it freestyle. Why is it called freestyle?
Then I'll explain why. Then understand the next element of hip hop being like an extreme subculture. So they might not use the same language that's being used to describe certain things that are being used in one thing.
So what we need to do then, we need to look at other situations where the word freestyle is used. For example, freestyle BMXing.
Yes.
Now, there's going to be a specific set of things that you can do within freestyle BMXing that's going to be set based upon a vocabulary of movements that are exclusively available to the bike.
I agree, but the thing is the difference between talking, which is basically what rapping is, but in a rhythm. Hang on, just give me a fucking second. Obviously, it's with a rhythm and a pentameter and with rhyming and vocabulary and everything. But it's still just language and talking, right? And I'm not trying to say without a doubt that it's not a skill. It is a fucking learned skill, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is the connotation with freestyle is it's not improv. because improv is a learned skill that you do.
You're disregarding the element of it. You're disregarding the element of the subculture.
Yeah. I think the jargon thing. You got to honor the language. But it's an unpopular opinion, and you've clearly triggered the both of us.
Yeah,
so.
Totally.
I think it's the coolest fucking thing in the world when anybody does freestyle.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I can't in my head not be like, they fucking.
That's how I know
this isn't freestyle.
You're so far removed from the culture, and I have a similar. I'm not gonna go into all of it. I have a similar experience to your experience with the crowd, the gang thing and all that growing up as well. I'm not gonna get into all that, but when you understand the deep separation of that culture from the mainstream or from what people understand, the language is completely different, right? So words are kind of usurped, or they're taken and they take on different meanings within a certain realm, because there's an entire reasoning for that. It's not just because it's they don't know what it means. It's because they're actually trying to create like a subliminal way of speaking. You understand? The entire thing is to kind of shroud everything in some kind of a language that the mainstream won't understand.
Right. There's an intensity to it. It's almost an intentional secrecy.
And the name of it is a little bit of what I'm trying to say, the opinion, but really all I'm trying to say is there's a connotation with freestyle rap.
You think it's the very nature of the fact that it's because it's language?
I'm saying that everybody can speak a language. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's what they're using to do that. So
let's flip this around. If freestyling is a thing, are we freestyling right now?
Constantly.
Totally.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Literally, it's literally all I'm trying to say.
So I would say that less controversially, as freestyle is just a conversation set to meter and rhyme. But I still think those distinctions require their own category, or they deserve their own category. To be
able to do that, it's a huge fucking skill. That's all I'm trying to say. And then the last little part of it is that I feel like they're in the bathroom just writing down rhyming dictionary shit. There's
definitely,
and that's just me being
but sometimes you'll pull wordplay out of the hat. It's the free association of phonemes is so huge. Having me and Sean will just toss around words that don't even necessarily relate. But eventually you'll end up running into these weird connection values. It's kind of like what Victor Wooten talks about in the music lesson, just grabbing your instrument and playing random notes. Right. Just see what happens, you know? And so I do that a lot with that's how I describe freestyling, and I think it's so important. But I see what you're saying. I'll let you have your little.
I'm just saying it, and it was more of because half of me just doesn't believe that at all, and I just wanted to say something that ruffled your feathers a little bit. Especially when you're saying that you're an MF Doom and everything.
You got us.
Yeah. But I'm a big hip hop fan, and there's an entire thing that goes with it that I just don't know that you're aware of, and that's why when you say things like that, I'm just like,
do you think I would say that at a fucking freestyle rap concert to people this doesn't exist?
All right. Yeah, this is not real.
But thanks for looking out for me. Next time I'm in the 305 with you.
That's right, bro.
So I've got an unpopular opinion that might trigger you a little bit.
But save it for the last one.
Yeah, because you get the last say.
I'll say it.
So my unpopular opinion is that capris are dumb.
Capri Suns? Yeah, I thought so too, man. They're too small.
You blow them up and then they squirt water
out. But you can make it into a cell phone as well, and I'm a big fan of that.
Is that what you thought I was talking about?
Yes.
So the pants that Steve Honig wears?
And I think that's bullshit. I think that's
Steve has incredible style. If we're talking about Steve's style, then I love whatever pants he's wearing.
That's bullshit, man. He just has long fucking legs. You know how fucking expensive it is to get a fucking 2840?
All I'm saying is that...
All right, that was a burn. That was a burn on Steve. And I'm
love
sorry.
you, Steve, but I hate capris. I'm just saying.
He doesn't wear capris.
Yes, he does.
I don't think he's intentionally wearing capris. I do think that
he's trying to show them that little bit of ankle. You know what I'm saying?
I don't like the style.
Are capris a remnant of an era where it was astounding to reveal the ankle, or is it more comfortable to wear capris?
I don't know.
For me, they just become high waters, I think is what you call it when dudes are wearing pants that show their socks. But you have to build a style around it, really.
That's kind of what's happened, I think, and I don't like it.
You're not for it.
Not for it. I'm all about, progress moving forward. Fashion is just a world that I don't understand.
It does weird me out.
And capris, I also associated when I worked at Sam Ash down in Miami, it was like you had used to love when the Brazilians came in because they would come in and they would buy tons of gear because they could buy it for so cheap here, and then just give them a little fucking bullshit receipt and send it on their way, so you have to pay the taxes on it, right? But you could spot them a mile away because they had these fucking capris. We're talking 10 years ago.
So weird.
And I didn't like it back then, but now I've noticed over the last couple of years it's become really big in the States too. And I'm just like, why did this become a thing? I just don't like it. I'm not into it.
I'm on 100% that he's just like, okay, I'm skinny.
I'm not talking about Steve. I'm talking about capris in general. You're stuck on Steve right now.
Because I haven't even noticed it until now. But it's like he's just skinny, and then he can't find, like I said, 2840. That's pretty hard to find.
Okay, let's take Steve out of the equation. I hate capris.
Okay. It does creep me out when you see those high fashion dudes and they're wearing suits, and then they're they show their ankle and they have no sock and those little loafers on it.
Yeah.
I'm
not into it.
You're
that's high watering though. That's not intentional
over there.
That's I'm experiencing that currently, but I'm hiding it down here because you guys are making fun of it.
No, those aren't capris. It's a very specific thing.
I know what a capri is.
They sew that shit together. It's like a whole thing.
It's a whole thing, man.
I'm not into that.
I think I'm on your side.
You're on my side?
Yeah.
That's the first time. What do you think, Trey?
I don't care, really.
You don't care?
Here's the fun thing. I just want to understand, because I don't like whenever I have tight-fitting clothes, and it might be because I'm a little heavier set, but the thought of having my ankle cut off like that, I'm not into it.
Yeah.
But I just people don't do things for no reason. I want to chase it down. Find out why this style became popular in the first place.
Well, fashion, in the same way that any other artistic endeavor does, it's just about pushing the envelope and just trying something new and different and seeing where you can go with it. It's a world that I don't understand. You know what I mean?
Obviously,
it's I love that you tell me that, Mr. fucking blue jeans and flannel on the gig, right?
I represent where I'm from.
I'm just saying, bro. You can't.
I have a Robert Jordan jacket on that I got in a thrift store,
and I love Jordan your fashion, slides.
Bro.
I got J slides down here. I'll show them off. Yeah. Ari makes fun of me. I want a sponsorship. I'm always ready to ball.
Bro. I'm
just saying, J slides. You want to get in the bluegrass world? Going from the jail yard to the fucking. Nah, but for real.
Man. All right, what's your
for real? The prequel trilogy is the best part of the Star Wars story.
You know what? When I was you're 30, so I'm 30. We're both 32 as well. But 1999, Star Wars Episode 1 came out. I'm sitting front row, dressed up as Obi-Wan Kenobi for Halloween for about 10 years straight.
That's a big deal. That's pretty cool. You look like Obi-Wan. You could pull that off.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I look just like you and McGregor. A lot of people tell me that all the time. But the prequels, because when you were a kid, that's when it came out.
I don't think. See, here's the thing, and this is what it gets down to.
You watch it again, I'm just like, I remember. You know who my favorite character was growing up was Jar Jar Binks, 100%.
That's gross. Have you seen the fan theory that he's the ultimate Sith Lord?
Yeah, the ultimate Sith Lord. Yeah.
They teased it in some sort of a bit where they gave Jar Jar a red lightsaber.
He has no idea what you're talking about.
I know.
I know who Jar Jar Binks is.
Yeah. Everybody knows who Jar Jar Binks is because he's a comic relief character. He sucks. No, there's not. Jar Jar's a sweet boy. But truly, I think the story writing in the prequel trilogy was the best story writing. The acting was the best. What you see in the middle trilogy is essentially a thrown together space opera that built the most important world for modern science fantasy. I get that, but it was thrown together. That story is thrown together. What I see in the last three is an attempt to complete what is a very difficult and strewn out adventure. And I think they did a pretty good job of bringing together elements from across the trilogy to make it a united experience. But that prequel trilogy tells a very cool and complete adventure with a coming of age of characters, and then inserting the little Clone Wars in between episodes 2 and 3.
There's some cool parts for sure.
I think it's
without
the
a
best.
doubt.
I think it's the best.
I was so obsessed. I was so obsessed with episode 1 when I was a little kid. I was 10 years old when that came out, and I could watch it right now and be like, yeah, this is good.
I watched
checks out,
so
and everybody else hates
double-bladed
that
lightsaber, man.
fucking Darth
Maul.
Maul. What? He does know.
Bro, I saw both of them in theaters when they came out. It's not that I don't like Star Wars. I just didn't dive deep into to like the whole thing. But
well, you said both. There's 3 of them. That's how I know you're not a fan.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Episode 3. Yeah, you're right. My bad. So here's the thing: is that when I was a kid, I liked it, and then when I grew up and watched them as an adult, I was like, this has got to be the worst display of acting that ever existed in cinema, period, across the board. And which made me, if the acting is bad, the story has to be real good to get me to buy into to the movie. And if the story is just not to the point where I'm like hooked, the acting is... That's
how I feel about the middle 3. I not to poop on Mark Hamill, you know, I mean, he's come a long way, but like they were all undercards at the time that it was created. It wasn't supposed to succeed. That's why I say it's thrown together. I don't know, man. The set design and the acting for the first 2 I think was pretty on point. That's why you get like that's why there's so many memes from it. There's timeless lines that stick with us, you know. But maybe it's all nostalgia. Who knows?
It's impossible to say.
You can't separate nostalgia, you know.
I fucking hate the new ones though.
Like, you hate them? I don't hate them. I just think...
the last one that came out, I fucking hated. The one before that, I also hated, and then the first one, The Force Awakens, that one was the only one that was like okay, but the other 2 and all the fucking...
Kylo was a little baby.
My god,
he wasn't when he took off his mask. I had a hard time. My immersion sort of left a little bit, but. I think in watching it all as a collected story, we see like to me from a writer perspective, I could see why those decisions were made because you're ultimately presenting archetypes and
right.
You know, that age bracket was an essential archetype to what the Star Wars. Each trilogy has this arc of this age bracket with like the elder teacher, the fool who is usually the center protagonist of a story, and then like all the supporting characters. And so I don't know, I've grown to love it.
What's the fucking arc of the first 3, man?
What's the arc of the first 3?
I'm sorry. No. Yeah, with episode 1, 2, and 3.
Anakin and his fall from grace, his story arc, and the inherent like, and then you watch Obi-Wan and his growth into power. I mean, Obi-Wan's the sage. Well, really, you got like Qui-Gon's the sage, and then he passes the torch to Obi-Wan, and so you have this dual coming of age thing where the leader's coming of age, and then the student's coming of age, ultimately leading to the leader having to kill the student. But he doesn't kill him. I mean, that's all really classic archetype.
The last one's definitely like as an adult, like the last one's the best one. No, the third one. Right?
The third one is the best one.
It's the best
for
one,
sure.
Of course, but
also the worst acted though, right?
No, actually.
Is it Hans Christian Andersen? Hayden Anderson. Hans Christian Andersen's the author, right?
Hayden Christensen is the name of Anakin.
Hayden Christensen's acting is
just atrocious.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. I wish that they would I saw somebody say like Leonardo DiCaprio would have made a better Anakin, and I like to think of what that world would have been like.
Yeah, but I don't think they had the budget for that, did they?
Literally.
No, that's the thing.
You kidding? Star Wars didn't have the budget.
Well, episode 1, 2, and 3 probably did.
Maybe they did, but maybe Leo was just like not on board because I saw the first 3 guys. I'm good. Anyways, we should wrap this up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But bro, this has been so much fun.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, thank you for coming on, telling your story. What a fucking ride you've had, man.
It's been fun, and it's still going.
It's still going, exactly. Okay, so where's the Grand Maestros available?
You can order the book at www.jtmillermedia.com, and that's just ordering it direct from me. Right. We're available in person at Dragon Star Hobbies in Athens, and we're going to be releasing via Patreon. If you want to keep up with the universe, the Facebook Spellsong Universe is going to have all the updates as we come out with fresh material via Patreon or email lists, things like that. As we release digital content, we've got a video game coming up. We've got specialized music for the world coming up. We've got events, tabletop games, all sorts of fun things that will be a community that we can get into and build around. So
follow you guys on Facebook.
Keep up with that on Spellsong Universe and jtmillermedia.com.
Are you guys doing an audiobook available anywhere yet? Or
the audiobook's in process, and okay. I wanted to once we sell the first editions, then we'll release the audiobook. I'm working with Adam Horowitz on that down in Tampa Bay. So that's
awesome.
It's gonna be really cool, and I've got some pretty awesome special guests that are gonna come on and help make it musical and set some of the ideas that I've described in the book to me.
Yeah, you gotta have music.
Love it, man.
Yeah,
you have to.
I won't tease who it is, but some of the most brilliant jazz cats in the Bay Area have taken an interest in the project, and they will do such justice to the ideas that only exist in my brain.
I love it, man. It's so smart. I love the whole fucking thing, man. You got
the whole thing.
And Tire Fire, where can we find you guys?
We're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Our first album, AM 4200, is out, and we have a single, Flight of the Phoenix, that you can find anywhere that music is streamed. Please bump it. We would love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Man.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. All right, man. Well, thank you for being on. Woo! And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Adios, muchachos.